Monster Hunter Now has received quite a lot of praise through previews, as a lot of media finally got their hands on the game and finally got to see a little bit of what the game is ultimately gonna be about. Just a few weeks back, we had the digital presentation where Capcom confirmed it was officially set to launch on September 14th. But it turns out that that's a little bit misleading, because now out of nowhere, the official social media pages ended up confirming that the game is now live for essentially everyone to be able to play. Kind of. And that's what I want to be able to discuss today, since essentially they basically said that yes, the game is actually out if you know how to be able to access to it, but it's not necessarily readily available to everyone else if you don't have the means to be able to get it. So in this video, not only do I want to try to clarify that to some players, but at the same time try to help you if you are trying to get your hands on the game earlier than expected and you don't want to wait until September 14th and you want to get your hands on the game early, as this soft launch quote-unquote window is now live, to be able to play it and get yourself started. So originally they basically took social media to say Monster Hunter Now is available on Android devices in Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Sweden. For Android users outside of the soft launch countries and iOS users, remember to pre-register and get rewards for launch. They provide a link to the description, which of course I'm going to be putting in my video description below, which leads you back to the official Monster Hunter Now pre-registration page. I spoke about that a few days ago, where I spoke about how they want up to 5 million people to go ahead and register, so you can go get your head like early rewards whenever you log into the game. You'll have some extra goodies in there and stuff like that. So yes, you should certainly pre-register if you're outside of Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, or Sweden. However, for those players who are in those countries, they already have full access to the game. Essentially, as basically what I've been able to see, everyone who already lives in those countries has full access to the game with no limitations whatsoever. And a lot of things are actually starting to come into shape. I want to do a little bit of a separate video, talk about like gameplay and stuff like that, and go into more detail, since I do want to ultimately review the game as it's available on day one launch. However, if you happen to live outside of those countries, what you can actually do, and pretty much presumably the rest of the world lives outside of Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Sweden, you can access the game through a VPN. Now, maybe you haven't really downloaded one of those before in the past, or you just have no access to it. On your mobile devices, if you go to the Android store, you should be able to see a VPN. There's many available. Some are paid, some are not. I would suggest probably using one of those free ones to test it out, just to see if it actually works for you and the country that you live in, and then make your way to be able to try to download it with the VPN enabled. Essentially, it just gives you an app on your phone, and all this does is reroute your signal from your connection to another server located in whatever country you select, most likely Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, or Sweden, and then pretty much go into the App Store once again, download the game, and then you should be able to have full access to it. I do know that some VPNs require you to pay, like I mentioned before. Others may actually have like the App Store blocked, so it really depends on which one you use. I'm not gonna sit here and promote one over the other. Some of the paid ones I've heard they're better, but it is what it is. If you are trying to use this on PC, however, you can certainly have a better chance. You can certainly emulate a launcher on the PC side of things and be able to just have full access to the Android software suite, or the App Store, if you will, through a launcher on your PC. And VPNs there are easier to have access to because they're usually limitless. So that's what I use on my end, and that's most likely how I'm gonna end up playing Monster Hunter Now, is through my laptop, and be able to capture gameplay is way easier in that format than it is to actually capture it through a mobile device. But at the end of the day, certainly if you use a VPN and you connect it to one of those aforementioned countries, Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Sweden, you should be able to have full access to the game like right now, basically, as it is currently now live. Now, as the question as to why it is that they only chose those specific countries, I have to wonder. They are maybe just checking a connections thing. Maybe they are just trying to see how many people are willing to bypass this, because a lot of soft launches are usually to see how many people are actually willing to log in day one before the game actually officially quote unquote launches, so they could get a feel on like what the player base numbers are going to be like on day one. Should they put more marketing material behind it? Should they put more, rewards or something along those lines to be able to get people excited to log in day one? All of those things is essentially what they're trying to wager as of right now, gauge and see how it is that is going to work out. They're not stressing servers or anything along those lines. That's not really what they do with mobile devices. But at the end of the day, maybe they are just checking out their infrastructure on some countries that do have relatively high mobile user data access, which is like Hong Kong, for example, is probably the primary one that stands out. Hong Kong does have, a lot of that. I would have imagined they probably would have went with South Korea instead, because it's more popular, more active. Certainly once they do China and Japan, it'll be as massive as when they do the United States, England, France, and all of those rest of European countries. So we'll just have to wait and see. But again, the worldwide launch is scheduled for September 14th. I do also have to wonder if they are going to be adding more countries to this lineup. I do wonder if they are maybe going to choose to do that instead. But at the end of the day, we will just have to wait and see. So soft launch is live now. You should be able to access that at this point in time. At the same time, they also provided a little bit of an introduction for one of the characters. You should be seeing the little overlaid clip right there. Basically, they introduced a guide for all hunters. They mentioned that her knowledge of monsters to guide hunters with composure is unparalleled, but so is her curiosity, which draws her feverishly towards unfamiliar objects in our world. And the description that they provide there is quality is in tandem with her knowledge of monsters and composure and guiding hunters. She's also brimming with curiosity towards the unfamiliar objects. Obviously, she's wearing a little bit of a mix-up armor there, right there. Rathalos shoulders with a mix of knight's armor as well. Pretty interesting outlook there. So we're just gonna have to wait and see fully, for those players who don't have full access to the game as of yet, what this character's ultimate role will be, but most likely is a guiding character, as the name suggests. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today. Links in the description below for all the information needed. And once again, if you need access to a VPN through your mobile device, you should be able to check out the Android store. Again, Apple is not live on any of this right now, so Apple players will just simply have to wait on that for right now. Maybe they are just ultimately stressing Android devices. I don't necessarily know. They weren't very clear on that. And moving forward, we should be able to see if they add more countries to the soft launch. If you're brand new to my channel, though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.